As most of you will know, Jake Carpenter, the man behind Burton Snowboards, has died at age 65. Our condolences to Jake's wife, Donna, his sons, George, Taylor, and Timothy, and the entire Burton family. I never met Jake, but his choice to build snowboards in Vermont in the 70s changed the trajectory of my entire life. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are feeling the same about your own life, right? So I called my friend Steve Hare, who works as a Burton Rep here on the west coast of Canada, because I knew he'd have a couple stories to share about Jake. But before I play our conversation, I just want to invite anyone who wants to share a Jake memory with the show to call 1-778-775-8403 and leave a message, and I'll put together a celebration of life show for Jake. So be sure to leave your name and where you live if you want that info to go in the show. That number again, 1-778-775-8403.
It's really weird. Like, I had like really weird dreams about this stuff lately, and then, you know, like, a little history. Obviously, like, cancer's affected my family pretty bad over, you know, the last 20 years, and
yeah.
So it's like I just had like it's been like cloudy, you know, and then this happened, and I was like, wow, holy moly, man.
I'm at a loss for words. I never know what to say. You know what I mean? I mean, you're just talking about, I know you lost your dad. I know you lost your mom. Like, fuck, dude.
This is just like another person that has been like instrumental in the direction of my life, you know?
Yeah.
My brother got a Morrow spoon in like 1992.
Yeah.
And I was the freaking most jealous kid on the planet. I would have been 10 years old. Anyway, I used to steal it when he was at school and like go down the street for her house and shred this like literally, you know, a driveway length. And this is in Toronto, Ontario. That moment is pivotal in my life, you know?
Totally.
You know, like, and then all of a sudden you see these movies. Like, I think TV4 was game changer in my life. Terry A. Hawkinson and frickin' Brian Iguchi and Dave Downing and like all these guys. Like, and my dad got me a board for Christmas. It was a private label. Got it at Surf Paradise
Nice.
in Mississauga, Ontario. And I rode that for the year, but I was just like so fixated on like, I have to have a Burton board. I want what Terry rides, you know?
Yeah.
I got to have this. And so I saved up all the money, and I bought a balance.
Beautiful.
That year. It was a red. It was a 56. It was the one with like, it's got like the pixie dust on the bottom, and then it's like a tightrope walker on the top, I think. And anyway, it's like that Wayne's World moment when like Wayne goes into that shop and he's like, I will have this guitar, you know?
It will
That's
be
what
mine.
It has to be.
Yeah.
And finally I got it. And I had old Preston baseless bindings.
Right.
And I went to mount the board, and I'm like, what the fuck? This doesn't fit.
Oh, God.
And I remember like going to my dad and being like, Dad, can I borrow? It was probably like $150 for those like khaki and black Burton custom bindings.
I remember.
And they had the like the metal latch on the heel cup to like hold the frickin' high back up and
Totally.
That binding.
Yeah.
I begged and pleaded my dad, and he was so pissed off because he's like, you're not playing hockey like your brothers, and you're snowboarding and stuff. And he was just like, what the frick are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I need these bindings, Dad. Like, because the board that I just spent the last year doing paper routes and mowing the church's lawn. St. Stephen's on the Hill in Mississauga, Ontario. I mowed your lawn just so I could go snowboarding.
Amazing.
Yeah. So finally, my dad just loses. He's like, what do you mean these old bindings that he has won't fit on here? You should be able to put anything on anything. And he just made it such a fuss. But, I mean, fast forward, you know, I've been riding Burton boards for a large portion of my life. And, you know, I idolized Jake. I idolized the Burton team. And, you know, 2014, I was fortunate enough to start working for these guys. And I met Jake in 1999.
Whoa.
I won a sales contest when I was working at Corbett in Oakville, Ontario.
Rad.
And I went down, and Jake invited us into his house in Vermont, like a bunch of kids from all over Ontario. We went snowboarding at Stowe, got to try like all next year's gear, and like, dude, for a freaking 19-year-old kid, like, that just you know, has pictures of Terrier ripped out of magazines on his wall. It's just like, oh my God, I'm riding Terrier's board for next year, you know?
Totally.
And then I meet this guy that like started it all, you know?
Unreal. I'll never forget when you came back from your first sales meeting. I don't know if it was your first one. I think it was, man. And you're talking about the drug test thing, the mandatory drug test. And I was like, oh God, Steve, no. Like, there's no way. And then when you told me, something in my mind changed about Burton at that moment. Just like, oh yeah, they're fucking cool as shit.
Yeah.
The last few episodes, I've been not a Burton apologist, but I've been a like, hey, wait a minute, Devin, you know? Maybe when Forum got bought by Burton, it wasn't the coolest thing in the world, but like, he's a busy fucking dude. He should have invited you to go snowboarding, but you know, you're like, I only ride for companies where the owner is cool. You're like, who could be cooler than the guy who fucking invented the way that we do the sport?
Yeah, obviously I can't speak on Dev's behalf. And you know what, and maybe in Jake's defense, you can't be 100% every day, right? So, I mean, shout out to Devin Walsh. Like, I had pictures of him on my wall growing up. No question. Like,
I think I got through to him, though. Like, he comes out of it saying he loves Jake. Like, everybody did. Everybody did.
Yeah. Like, Jake came in and he revolutionized the game, just kind of like Michael Jordan did.
Yeah.
Like those guys that came before him. But, you know, maybe on a bigger level almost, because he ingrained a culture into so many kids that, like, wasn't an option before, you know? And it was like, and I'm one of those guys where, like, my life would not look even close to what it looks to right now if it wasn't for my snowboard and it wasn't for Burton Snowboards.
Same.
Like, I'd probably be frickin' working in the oil fields in northern Alberta.
We'd be fishing on our 5 weeks holidays from our shitty jobs that we're about to retire from, being grumpy. And
there's not many people, and this I think transcends snowboarding. It's like there's no one in our culture today that he changed the way you acted, he changed the way you dressed, he changed the way you stood and looked at the world, you know?
Totally.
Like, he shared his passion better than a lot of people on the planet, you know, and I'm fortunate enough to have worked for him and met him and to have some pretty special memories that I'll, you know, never forget. And I can easily say, and I know this goes for millions of people out there, it's like our lives would be completely different if it wasn't for his dedication to the sport of snowboarding. And, you know, and this is right up to the days on his deathbed. Like, nobody in snow sports has done more to get people outside and stoked in the mountains than Jake Burton has. There's nobody. And you can quote me on that.
I'm looking forward to all these stories coming forward about moments that Jake had with all these different people. You know what I mean? Because that's what's going to happen, is that people are going to share their best Jake memories. And these are people that are all around the world from every part of the industry, inside and out. I am looking forward to that for sure.
Like, Eric, you and I probably would never be friends if there wasn't.
No, we wouldn't have met. Right.
Like, I never would have met you. I
right.
never would have, you know, like, I probably wouldn't have never moved to Vancouver and, like, chased snowboarding.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Like, well, that's a given.
Yeah.
And I owe a lot of a debt of gratitude for the hard work, not only with Jake, but his lovely wife and family. Like, Donna is the most powerful, empowering woman on the planet, I think. And it's, my heart goes out to her and the kids and the entire Burton family. I know there's a lot of people hurting today, you know. But I went up to Big White today and strapped in on my snowboard, and it was low tide, but high fun. And it was Bluebird. It was beautiful. And I had a sip of bourbon out of Jake's flask. And
nice,
it was a pretty special moment, for sure. And I think everybody's going to have a bunch of special moments coming up, because if you stood sideways on a mountain, he is 100% had an effect on your life.
100%. I agree. Like, it big time.
Right after my dad died, I kind of just, like, had this fuck off summer where I was just like, okay, I'm going to do whatever I want, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of had this, like, real sense of, like, my own mortality and shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, last minute, I was like, oh, looks like it's going to snow a shitload in Chile. So I'm going to, like, I've never snowboarded outside of North America. I'm just going to take off and go, you know? And I did. No friends. I went by myself. I landed in Santiago, like, couldn't speak a lick of Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Until turns out, like, Solers and Renty show up there, and I just like find out via Instagram, I think.
Nice.
And it's just stacking up 200 centimeters over the next 4 days. And you're like, okay, we hit this. And then these guys arrive, and they take me under the wing and show me all the spots. And, you know, we're treated like royalty. And they're like, oh, the Burton team's here. And I'm like, no, not me. I'm just a freaking pencil pushing sales rep, you know?
Yeah.
I follow these guys down for a week. We, like, just meet, you know, salt of the earth people. Last day, Brian Aguchi and a bunch of the Arbor boys show up. We just shred with them. And my jaw's just dropping, right? Because I'm like, okay, first I'm shredding with, like, Gooch, who's, like, holy frick. Legend of legends, totally. In my mind.
Yeah.
And then, so the next day, Solers and Rents got a text from Andre, who used to work for Burton in South America. I think he runs a bunch of the Heli ski ops down there.
Oh, sick.
And he's like, Jake's here. And we're like, what? Jake just landed in Santiago. He chased the storm. He flew down the other night. He's coming up to Baldy, Nevada. And we're all like, well, okay, cool. Like, I'm just like, what? You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like, as if this trip, like, this dude, like, starts off, like, I have no idea where I am, what I'm doing. I remember I was sleeping on the street in Santiago because I landed at, like, 1 a.m., couldn't get into my Airbnb. So I'm, like, sleeping on the street in Santiago. But fast forward, the last day we're up at Baldy, Nevada, Jake flies in with Andre in a personal helicopter, lands at the chalet. It's powder day, and, you know, Jake just, like, comes out, and he's just super nice and really warm welcome. And then we do a bunch of laps with him. And it was kind of special because he'd just gotten over, I believe it's called Fisher-Miller syndrome, that it attacked him after he had surgery. And he was in a coma, I believe, for 8 weeks or so.
Yeah.
And so this was one of, like, you know, he'd just gotten back on the snow and stuff. And so it was pretty special to, like, you know, just be there for a moment like that with following those boys around. And, you know, just like the kind of hockey talk, like the you know, the locker room banter between the boys. And it was just, you could see that, like, with Mark and Mikey and Jake, like, it wasn't like, hey, these are my team riders or anything. It wasn't like a coach-player relationship. It was like, they're fucking boys, you know?
Right.
It would be no different than you and I just chasing it on a POW day, right?
So,
like, and that I thought was really special.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, this is pretty cool. And then anyway, like, Jake's like, hey guys, let's go have lunch. Lunch is on me. And I'm like, oh, I'm just tagging along like a kid in the candy shop, right? And I don't think we had a single thing to eat. We just drank Pisco, and then it was cloudy, and all of a sudden the sun came out, and Jake's like, oh, our windows, we got to get out of here. And then Chopper took off, and he's gone. It's pretty neat that you get to meet one of your heroes, and when your hero turns out to be a rad dude, that makes it even better.
That's the fucking best, Steve. Unfucking real. Man. Thank you for sharing all that stuff with me, homie.
You're, like I said, it's like, you're special that, you know, we have to share a passion like this. And then not like, it hit me really hard because it's like my life wouldn't be what it is. I wouldn't know the people I know and have had the moments I've had if it wasn't for a lot of things he's done.
I think that's every listener to the show. Yeah, no, that's everybody. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way it is. That's anybody who's, like, got a spark of joy watching somebody do something on a snowboard in the Olympics or anything. Like, it would all be different. It would be, there'd probably still be snowboarding, but it wouldn't be like this. It would be a different reality, and we wouldn't know each other. That would suck.
Yeah, who knows what it'd be like, you know?
Nobody knows.
Who knows? We could all be like stand-up paddle snowboarding or something weird, you know?
And it could be just sticks of skis with no side cut.
And the whole thing would have just imploded.
Empty mountains that are just like relics to a time gone by.
Everybody would snowblade.
Yeah, it could be. Who knows? Thanks to Steve Hare for doing that interview. And thanks to all of you for listening. All right.